Hello everyone, welcome back. We are going to be looking at the area of a rectangle in this video. We've previously, if you haven't already watched it, please go back and watch the perimeter of a polygon video. It goes into in-depth of looking at how we are setting up some formulas for looking at these. And so it would be important for you guys to have a quick understanding of that before we go into this video. Now, in the previous one, we did look at perimeter, which is the outside length of a shape. Again, with the analogy of a yard, you would use a perimeter to figure out how much fencing you would want to put around the yard. So you'd want to measure how long the outside is, and that would show you how much fencing you would need to buy. Or a picture frame. Picture frame. If you measured the outside of a picture frame, that's how much of a frame, the length of the wood that you would need to get for the frame. On the other hand, area. When we're looking at area, when we're using that idea, it's the total square footage of the what would cover the inside of that shape. For grade 6, we're simply looking at the area of a rectangle, so length times width. And for the other analogies that we used, if you're looking at say, your yard, looking at how much grass you would need to put it in the yard, or if you're looking at the paint, how much paint you would need to cover the entire area of the painting. So today we're going to be looking at how we can apply those formulas to area, just like we did with perimeter, and we will go from there. So just starting off, the area of a rectangle is always the length multiplied by the width. When we show this as a formula, we can simplify it down to this: area equals A, length equals L, width equals W. For a rectangle, area is always equal to the length times the width. So that becomes A equals LW. Because if you have those two letters together, again, to take out that X, so that that is the multiplication sign, so that we don't confuse it with any other symbol, we use L times W. They're right next to each other. That means they're multiplied. So let's have a look at an example here. So first, we have our area equals length times width. The length that we've seen is 7 feet. The width that we have is 4 feet. And the area then is equal to 7 times 4, which is equal to 28 feet squared, because 7 times 4 is 28, and that's squared. Now that's what I want to show right here. This guy. Notice that the area is squared, showing that two lengths were multiplied together. That is two dimensions, okay? That's how we show it. When we go to volume, it's cubed, because that shows a 3. That shows that we use 3 dimensions to multiply them together. Another example here is the area of a 6 meter by 4 meter yard is 24 meters squared, or 24 square meters. Okay, so that square is when we're multiplying two things together. We didn't have that with the perimeter, because we're not multiplying those dimensions together. It's on one dimension. We are just adding up the perimeter outside. We're not multiplying those dimensions together. So one of the examples that I want to show is, well, I want to show 3 examples. So we're going to be moving here. And I want to show, so I'm going to, well, I guess I could keep that on. Okay, pardon my tangle of materials. There we go. Okay, so looking at our area formula. So just as a quick recap, our area formula, there we go, is area equals length times width. And we shorten that down to area equals length times width. Now, just like we did with the others, as long as we have 2 of these dimensions, we can have, or 2 of these factors, we can figure out what the missing factor is. So let's start simple. And again, I always want you guys practicing this where for every equation you write down what each one is looking at. So say we're looking at an area. We have an area, or no, we're going to look for area first because that's our simple introduction when you want to just look for the area. We don't know what the area is, but a particular painting. A particular painting is 20. I'm going to go inches. Inches long and 10 inches wide. And we want to find the area of this painting. So we know our length. Our length is 20 inches. Always put what type of measurement it is. And our width is 10 inches. So now we just put in our formula, A equals LW. We don't know what the area is, but we do know what the length is. It is 20. And our width is 10. And remember, having those two next to each other means they're multiplied. So 20 times 10 gives us 200, and this is inches squared. So we have figured out what our area is. The area of a rectangle that is 20 inches long by 10 inches wide is 200 inches squared. Let me just grab a Kleenex and I'll show us how we can figure out the other two dimensions. So let's say you need to make a rectangle. Let's say you need to make a rectangle that is exactly 75 meters squared. That's all you have. Say that's how much turf you have, or that is how much grass seed you have to cover it. You already know that the length, the maximum length that you can make your yard would be, let's say, I want to do this correct. Yeah, that works. Let's say the maximum length that you can use is 15 meters. So we set up our formula. We need to know our area, length, and width because that is our three things. So we know that our 75, always put in our knowns, 75 meters squared. Our length is 15 meters. And we're wondering what is the maximum width we can make our yard if we have this much area that we can cover, where our length is 15 meters. What is the maximum width we can make our yard? So we put it in our formula, area equals length times width. A equals LW. The area is 75 meters squared, which is equal to 15 meters times W, because we don't know what our W is, so it stays that letter. We are trying to find what this is, so we want to isolate it. We want to get it on its own on one side. So we have to do the opposite of the equations that are in there. Right now it is 15 times W. To get rid of that, to do the opposite operation, 15 times W, the opposite operation is division. So we divide by 15. That cancels that because it works down to a 1. And 1 times anything is itself, so that's why we cancel it. And then we do the same to the other side, 15 meters. 75 divided by 15 gives us 5 meters. And that gives us our width. So that is how we can figure out our width. Now the exact same thing, I'll do one more example. The exact same thing can be done for length. Say we have we need to regrout a pool. I don't know why that's the example I use, and I don't even know. Let's do yards. Let's say we have 150 yards squared of a pool. I don't know if that's a small pool or a huge pool. So we have 150 yards for a total area of grouting that we need to do. Now, our client, for some reason, just told us the length of the pool or the width of the pool instead of, and just left the length out. So he told us that the width was 15 yards, let's say. He told us that the width was 15 yards, and we don't know the length. So area, we want A, again, put in our knowns and leave our unknowns. We know our area is 150 yards. We know our width is 15 yards. Sorry, yards squared for the area. And our length is our unknown. So we put it all into the equation. Area is equal to 150 yards, which is equal to length. That is how you normally do length in algebra, but we don't need to worry about that right now. Length times 15. So again, we have to isolate this L, this length, because we want to see, get it on its own to see what its actual measurement is. So we divide both sides by 15 to cancel it out. Divide this side by 15, and that gives us 10 yards is equal to L. So we know that the length of that pool would be 10 yards. That's it. Yeah, I know looking at perimeter, it seemed a lot more complicated, but this is it for area and using formulas for that to figure out what that area is. And it allows us, with this practice, it allows us to not only find how the area of a rectangle, but it also allows us to figure out the missing length and the missing width of a rectangle. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I look forward to seeing you, and have a great day.